Happy Saturday to channel listening fans. Thank you for coming back for what is going to be episode number 7. Got a couple of quick things that I need to get off my chest. So first, this is still a brand new channel and brand new format for me, doing the vlogging and YouTubing for used gear. Just gotta say, for a few of you folks out there who are expecting Johnny Darko levels of refinement in my cinematography, yeah, why don't you check in a year from now? I might get halfway there. So, yeah. For the rest of you who do like this format, for one, I'm your host, Jason. I review used gear, and I am a music 2-channel hobbyist. I do this for fun. Nobody pays me. Everything comes directly out of my pocket, and I don't even have a Patreon account like pretty much 95% of the reviewers out there. So for those of you who want something that's a little more raw, a little more real, and you know that there isn't any under the table passing of, oh, I don't know, special royalties, please continue to tune in here. Smash that like button, and again, if you like this format, please hit that glowing vacuum tube in the lower corner. So, episode number 7, guys. First, Mr. David Drzycki, my buddy here in Eagle, Idaho. The guy collects some pretty amazing stuff, and he let me take these AR-12s off of his hands for a few weeks. So David Drzycki at Authentic Audio, Idaho, he basically takes gear and refurbishes it, and this is no exception. Quite, you know, kind of one of those rarer speakers. While there's 100,000 AR-3s that are still out there, not so many when it comes to the AR-12. So again, Dave, thanks for loaning these speakers to me. It's definitely been something special, and again, the topic for today. So before I can even talk about acoustic research, though, you have to mention the progenitor. You have to mention the godfather of what the speaker design really even is, and that's Mr. Edgar Vilcher. So Edgar Vilcher, back in the 1950s, the dude's got more brain power in his pinky finger than I have in my entire body. I would freely admit that. And speaking of that, I will put several links in the description so that you can hear Edgar in his own words as he describes what he came up with when it comes to the acoustic suspension design and some of his other particular elements. So, Edgar Vilcher is the man who gave us the acoustic suspension design, which basically, instead of the old mechanical designs with the open port speakers, this particular speaker is in a fully sealed box, and it uses the air around it to interact with the woofer, so that it basically has a quicker rebounding, and that's what that kind of that acoustic, he called it, the airspace is the acoustic, and that is the suspension for the woofer to operate within. Again, I won't get into all the mechanicals of it. The guy, he says it himself as you listen to his words and all the different gears that are going on. It's entertaining of itself just to hear somebody like him speak about his design and how it came about. So please tune in and watch that. I don't get anything from it, but it's just for those of you who are new to audio 2-channel listening in general. It's important to know who the heck Edgar Vilcher is, because the man is no one-hit wonder, folks. Let me tell you something. So when he came up with the acoustic suspension design, he released the first AR-1 with Henry Classe at the New York Audio Show. Again, that's 1954 that AR-1 was introduced. Shortly after that, he came up with what would be a little bit more affordable family-friendly speaker with the AR-2, and then from there he continued to design and refine the AR series of speakers. And then once again in 1960, the man gives us what we still rely on today for our music 2-channel listening enjoyment. The dude came up with the dome tweeter. So the dome tweeter, once again, is attributed to Mr. Edgar Vilcher and the dome tweeter in general. It gives us better dispersion power, energy control, and basically a smoother frequency response. Millions of audiophiles all over the world owe a debt of gratitude to our enjoyment and our listening experiences and being a hobbyist. Edgar Vilcher, without him, who knows where speaker design would be today? But I mean, it's amazing to think that something that was designed back then is still a normal part of a speaker today. So for everybody, all these manufacturers say they've got the cutting edge this and the cutting edge that, we're still using a lot of the same stuff from the guy who designed this in the 50s and 60s. Amazing. So 1960s carry on. The AR designs move up and down the line as far as their echelon and what they release to the public. You start to get the AR3s, three-way designs, AR4, AR4Xs, and then the AR5s. Towards the end of the 60s, guys, Acoustic Research accounts for 1/3 of all speaker market share. 1/3. One manufacturer is 1/3 the entire market share. And so in 1967, Edgar decided to hang up AR Research, sells them to Teledyne, and Teledyne, under contract, is able to continue to reproduce the Acoustic Research brand. They do a pretty good job for quite a while. Basically in 1977, where we come to these AR-12s, they released 7 different models that were from the 1977 to 1979 years. And it starts with basically the AR-10 Pi, P-I-E. And if any of you have that particular speaker, good for you. If any of you want to sell me your speakers, PM me. So the AR-10 was the top of the line for the 1977 model year, and it goes AR-10 all the way through AR-18. The 12s are the third from the top of the line on the throne, and basically they are the same cabinet, 1.5 cubic feet of space. The only difference between the 11s and these 12s are the 11s have the 12-inch woofer, and the 12s, the AR-12s, have a modified mid-range driver in them that the AR-11s do not have. So basically what they are doing, they were trying to make the AR-12 the more affordable version of the AR-11 by using a 10-inch woofer in that same airspace. The frequency roll-offs are at 44 hertz and operates up to a resounding 25K, which really seems kind of hard to believe when you put this up against modern designs. And that's going to bring me to another quick aside, as I like to do. $1977. This speaker was released for $250. The AR-11 was $345, and the AR-10 was $450. So adjusted for $20, this AR-12 would be basically a $1,075 speaker. Now that's the sweet spot for me, guys, as you know, because my go-to speaker is the Tecton Lors, which you can still purchase today for $1,025. Last week I reviewed the Fine Audio that I picked up secondhand, the F501, for $1,400. Now, it's quite interesting to me that before I get into what I think of the sound quality of these speakers, $1,075. I'm going to say that if there is any manufacturer today who could replicate this with a 10-inch driver, three-way design, 44 hertz to 25K, with, you know, what's still an arguably handsome design, at least the colors and the wood finish, much better than other $2,000 speakers that are out there in the market today from mass, Chinese manufacturing, basically. And I don't have anything against Chinese manufacturing. It's just, it's a product of making things affordable with manufacturing process. However, again, for $1,075, if anybody could replicate this very speaker today, I guarantee they would have 100,000 units sold in no time to audiophiles all over the world. You know, when you've got people who are still paying $3,000 for the LS35s, give me a break. You're not going to find an LS35 on my channel. I'm not going to review an LS35. It has its place in society, and God bless Kev for making that speaker, but folks who are still paying $3,000 for that tiny little speaker because it's licensed by the BBC, get real. I'm a user reviewer. I'm a budget reviewer. I care about the maximum return on investment, and you know, a lot of the times I have to go back to vintage speakers to really feel and get that experience. So again, I've been blessed to be able to own ADS L710s, ADS L810s, JBL 4313Bs, and on and on and on. I've got experience with a lot of vintage speakers already, and I gotta say, folks, you know, when it comes to those adjusted dollars, I think the inflation rates don't even come close to making up the difference in what modern speaker manufacturing design looks like today. You know, it's just a fact that there's a limited amount of money for most of us who enjoy two-channel listening. And there's just a certain expectation level with what manufacturing processes can do today, and the snake oil that's sold to us in all the design that goes into a particular speaker. Don't confuse my ranting for anything other than the passion for what two-channel listening is. I mean, I've been married to my lovely wife for over 21 years now, but by God, there's no way I'm going to be married to a pair of speakers for 20 years. We owe it to the designers. There's guys out there, guys and gals out there who are building amazing speakers, and speakers for the last 40 years have their own type of voicing. And when I elude back to the different types of vintage speakers that I have, the Altic-Lansing JBLs, Acoustic Research, and many clips, they all have a particular voicing, and so it's always very beneficial and educational, bar none is it educational, that you get to experience speakers of this vintage. So when I first hooked these speakers up to my system and put in my CD, SIA, some people have real problems. Holy crap! I mean, really, it was surprising. I mean, really, it's easy to say that about a lot of different speakers, but I guess no matter how many different vintage speakers I seem to plug in, I can't help it. I have this weird bias to where the bar is lower because I'm thinking, okay, Jason, you're 42 years old. These speakers are 42 years old. You're getting a little bit older. You know, you're not the fastest thing out there anymore. You're not this, you're not that. So in my mind, I just naturally attribute some kind of, say, a handicap. But nevertheless, what I was expecting and what I heard might as well be 180. And the awesome thing about these particular speakers, again, is the fact that they have switchable crossovers. So again, at that $250 price point, when these things were brand new in their day versus $1,100 today, the mid-range has a three-position three-position switch, and the treble also has a three-position switch that goes from flat, basically at 0 dB, to -3 to -6. I left everything 100% flat when I turned them on. I'm 8.5 feet away from my ears to these speakers, and I was friggin' shocked at the detail retrieval, the massive amounts of top-end information that was absolutely coming out at me. And it's not, I mean, again, this is a 3/4 inch older style textile dome tweeter. It's not a titanium tweeter. It's not one of those aluminum tweeters that just scream at you. So it wasn't that it was just bright. It was, I switched him down to -6 because of looking for a balance in the presentation. Now these are, nobody can say that, and by modern standards, that these are bookshelf speakers, guys. These are quasi floor standing speakers, and yet that three-way sound needed to be toned down so that I was getting a full, full spectrum, top to bottom, a good balance. And so I left the mid-ranges flat. They're operating all week long for me flat. And I've played CD after CD, as well as with the new Denon SACD player that I have. I've done a couple of SACDs with them back to back, and that flavor, that sound signature, it's different. It's different in the fact that I've continued to struggle with how to describe what these speakers do and what they do for the sound. It's having the tectons in here, having the fine audio in here, and then reflecting back on the ADS L810s. I think of, okay, so cubic volume wise, very similar speaker, three-way design. And if you were to hold a gun to my head and said, damn it, Jason, what the hell do they sound like? What do you think they sound like to you? This is the best I can come up with. So Klipsch Forte 2s crunched in with the ADS L810s. That's the best combination of what these sound like to me. So the Klipsch, because of their ability to play loudly and give you the upper end detail, they don't have the bass of the Klipsch or as much of the room energy that they can provide because of the passive radiator on the back of them. But there's more of that smoothness that the ADS L810s have. So the L810s have a very smooth presentation. Again, those are an acoustic suspension sealed box design speaker from Braun, and these can definitely outshine those speakers. So the treble energy and that retrieval, they basically giving you every last ounce without screaming at you or getting too fatiguing, but you're able to get a lot more information, I think, from these AR-12s than you could the ADS. But at the same time, with the Klipsch Forte 2s, you're going to get a lot of that mid-range energy and a little bit more of that tuneful bass. So this 10-inch driver definitely gives you a good tuneful bass, but it certainly rolls off in the lower 48 or 40 hertz frequency range, whereas the Tectons, they can slam down to close to 30 hertz. And it's just a different, that's kind of the benefits, I guess, of modern design speakers there for you. There's something to be said about the vintage sound quality, be it a lot of speakers from the 1970s and those in the early 80s. Not too long ago, I had the KEF 104.2s in here. I couldn't compare these speakers to that. Again, it's a different speaker. The KEF was definitely in a much higher price bracket for what it was in 1986. So there is no comparison. There is no comparison there. Close to the JBLs of that vintage. Definitely better than the Centuries. Sorry, JBL Century guys, but I would pick this speaker any day over the those L100 JBLs. And that's pretty much that's. You have to experience those speakers. So my apologies to you new audiophiles. For those of you who are new to the hobby, you would have to find those types of speakers or search out into the community and request, hey, I'm new at this. I don't know what sound I really like yet, and as many people as you can make friends with who have 2-channel systems, that's going to be your best, that's going to be your best bet and your biggest benefit to, again, I would say that is the education. I'm still learning so much. I've been in this hobby for 9 years, and I can only continue to educate myself by experiencing all these different speakers from all the different vintage years. Maybe it's the direction of this channel that may upset a few folks, that I am not going to be the guy who chases what's new. I absolutely will not chase what's new. I don't believe in a lot of the new designs that are out there for what the price points are. And the caveat is it's the price points, guys. I see a lot of stuff at these, what I find to be very disagreeable what so-called entry-level prices, and that comes from the experience of all the different speakers that I've had in the last 9 years. I know what good sound is, and I know what being ripped off sounds like. So for the rest of you reviewers out there who are, you know, taking the under the table payments from a lot of those manufacturers to say what the best is, oh, this is the best this and this is the best that, say in the comments, I don't think I've said the best of anything. Of all of the different components that I've had, I have yet to say that this is the best of anything that I've owned. It doesn't work that way. I am going to say that there has been a very short list of speakers that I had to run out of the room from, and one of them happened to be from the von Schweikert family. And so when it comes to the expense and what I heard after using seven different amplifiers to change the flavor of that kind of a speaker, I think I know what I'm talking about when I know what a good sounding speaker is, and being able to tune it to preferences. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. Yet again, I don't take money or handouts from anybody, and I'm going to say whatever the hell I want to say on this channel, because damn it, my money's going to back it up, and I'm an independent reviewer. So thank you, YouTube. The rest of you guys, next week, the Denon DVD 3930 Ci DVD player, CD player, and most importantly to me, SACD player. I've only had it for a couple of days. I've run through a couple of different SACDs already, as well as some tried and true CDs. Oh man. I paid $317 for it delivered. It had already had the laser replaced by the previous owner, and thank you so much for doing that, because my God, for 320 bucks, guys, I'm very happy with this Denon unit, and I can't wait to share that with you guys next week and talking about all the different playback formats. So until then, I'm going to continue to rock out with these AR-12s. If you've got some AR-10s out there, please PM me. I would love to at least hear them. If you're within 200 miles of the Eagle, Idaho vicinity, I'm interested. Constructive feedback, constructive criticism is always welcome, as long as it's constructive. Have a wonderful week, folks.